everyone. I am Jeanine Staples. I am founder of the Supreme Love Project. You are tuned into another Supreme Love Project. This is the Breakthrough Your Barriers Summit, and I am here with the goddess queen, Anaya, Sophia. I feel thrilled. Anyone who has followed the Supreme Love Project, you know how I feel about Anaya, Sophia, and you've heard us talk before. There are other ways that you can hear our conversations and the ways that Spirit moves through us as instruments of divine wisdom. And so I encourage you to go over and find that now, and definitely follow Anaya, Sophia. So Anaya, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us here today.
Oh, Jeanine, I would always say yes to you. I have always said yes to you.
It's one of the great gifts of my career, the fact that you have always said yes to me, honestly. So let's let everybody in on who you are in the world. So Anaya, please tell us who you are, what it is you do, and how you came into this work.
Okay.
Ministry.
Well, many of you will know me as Anaya Sophia, but I need to take you back to when I was Julie Samantha Cudahy. When I was just a little kid, 7 years old, coming down the steps of the Sacré-Cœur with my parents in Paris, and I saw a beggar on the streets, not on the streets, sorry, on the steps, with his hands out as if asking, begging for food or money. That was the moment that something incredible and lasting happened to me, because I ran to that man and I put my hands over the top of his, which caused him to look up. And in those eyes was the transmission, Jeanine. That was the transmission that just lit me up like a Christmas tree. And forevermore, I was asking, what was that? Who was that? And where do I get some more of that? And I guess I go under the guises of mystic and yoga teacher and author and feminine sacred workshop facilitator. Yeah. But really what I am is a forward moving, non-distracting, unyielding energy. That sums me up a little bit clearer, actually. With a lot of joy, but a heck of a lot of determination. I'm the last in my ancestral line. I chose not to have children, so when I die, that's it. That's the end of this particular line of DNA, and I'm very attuned to that. So I'm out there gunning for gold. I don't have much to risk, so I'm pretty daring.
Oh. Anaya, where do I go from here? Here's where I'm going to begin in response to what was just shared. I want to be clear for our community in the Breakthrough Your Barriers Summit about ways to recognize breakthroughs and not fall into the trap of missing them. What you described as your girlhood experience being Julie or Julia? Julie. Walking with your parents outside of a basilica, seeing the homeless man and creating the connection with him, putting your hands in his hands and connecting with him eye to eye, that was a breakthrough.
Yes.
That was a breakthrough.
Yes.
That was a breakthrough. We need to recognize when they're happening as cosmic energetic beings so that we're not missing them left and right, because that is where we will have opportunities for movement, for a connection, and for regeneration, which is where that's what we're here for the evolution of consciousness and ascription of our own identity. That was a breakthrough. That's sort of like, that was a breakthrough. Yeah. Those breakthroughs happen in different ways. So bless you for your work in the world. Thank you for exemplifying through your life and modeling for us what it means to be a daring woman, to do your womanhood wondrously, to really eat your purpose and passion every day and birth it out again and again and again. I mean, there are no ends to the gifts of a woman who is alive.
Amen.
There are no ends to the gift of a woman who is alive, no ends. So what we're going to talk about today is permission and power to speak as a woman. And when we give ourselves permission, and when we recognize when we are giving away power, or power is being withheld from us, we are really positioning ourselves for massive breakthroughs in relationship, in identity, in health and wholeness, in business, in ministry. We are positioning ourselves for breakthrough when we have access to our permission. So please talk to us for a moment, Anaya, about why permission and power go together and why they're so important.
Well, I noticed the first part of awakening my womanhood, I was concentrating on the womb, on sexuality, on relationship. So it's very much down here, working with this part. But I'm noticing, heck, this part wants to speak. This is not just limited to sexuality and beauty and the feminine in her body. This feminine has an expression, and like a volcano, this almighty voice wanted and did come out. But on the way up, there were so many conditioned behaviors to suggest that that voice should go straight back down where it came from, or to put a silencer on that or a dampener on that. But the womb was like, no, you don't understand. This is a primordial voice. And so as I went through that journey, so the nature of my work began to open and facilitate the vital, the equal importance. If you're going on a womb journey, the next stage is your voice, and the releasing of this sacred rage, or this fierce feminine, or this holy wrath. It's paradoxical. It is an almighty next stage of the awakening of a full and whole woman.
Hold the phone. Okay. One of the things that I talk about in the Supreme Love Project is the notion of generating a personal liberation project. The Supreme Love Project, which anyone could see, it's the supremeloveproject.com. That's my personal liberation project that I make public. A personal liberation project is about really producing free women, producing and reproducing free women. So Anaya, when you talk about being free, like a radically free woman, and the experience of coming to that outcome and that product through a process of what it is that you call it, a womb journey. Let's get into that. I really want to know more about what that is. There are women who are I'm bouncing like popcorn right now. I want to hear more about that. I want to know exactly what it is and why it is we need it in our lives to break through to our next level.
Okay, this is a work in progress. We're talking on the edge, contemplation. My experience is this, that when you start to sit in your womb and choose from your womb and speak from your womb and literally just live from that womb, you will be called to be some kind of caretaker to the natural world, because the womb it's the node in the web of life. All of us ladies are connected womb to womb, and we care and we are concerned about, and we are right to feel the pulse of life in our bellies. Now, for some of us, this will be human families and children. For others, it will be animals. For others, it'll be the oceans. For others, it'll be, harvested crops that are organic and freely available. But we all have a voice on behalf of the natural world. This is my feeling. And that voice is not the kind of voice that you exchange with other fellow human beings. It's primordial. It is wild. It is untamable. Sometimes, in my case, it's not even English. It's sound. It's a frequency that comes out, and whoever and whatever hears it pays attention, because you hear it and you go, oh, there's the edge. There's the edge. I'm not crossing that edge. This woman, this being is sounding something important. I've
Yeah.
almost forgot what it means, but actually now that I've heard it, I do know what it means. I'm being called to duty.
What you're doing right now, Anaya, is facilitating for us a process in consciousness and awakening that goes beyond the authentic voice. So one of the things that we hear in public consciousness, in social media landscapes, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and whatever other technologies will come up to link us to one another. There's a lot of talk around your authentic voice. And it's an esoteric sort of fuzzy thing that's, a lot of people are not really sure what that means. I have an idea of what it means to develop an authentic voice, to actually get in touch with your authentic voice. What you're talking about now is taking us even deeper. That primordial sounding and resounding. What you're saying is we all have a right to it. We all have access to it. We all possess a unique iteration of it. That each one of us as women and men are distinct representations of God, and therefore endowed with a representation of a reverberation of voice. And that a part of our life experience is finding it and then giving space for it, opening for it, and then operating from that place. I don't know many other things that can support a breakthrough more efficiently, effectively, powerfully than coming into that authenticity, where you are speaking, communicating, advocating, ministering from that primordial space, like drawing from an energetic core that is otherworldly. It's phenomenal. So let's talk specifically about mechanics. I really want to be very practical, because you and I, we go big, 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 big. And I want to anchor down to make sure that people are conscious, that women are aware. There's women on the edge of their seat, they're saying, I want that. I want that. I want to be in touch with my primordial voice. I want that fierce feminine. I want that. How do I do it? How do I find it? How do I get it? What are some practical ways to be attuned and accepting?
The way I did it, I've only done it sort of like 1.5 times. I wasn't happy with the second time. But you only need to do it once to know that it's possible. So I wanted, or rather needed, I come from a Western background just like all of us, and have had heavy duty conditioning around being polite, being in agreement mostly with others, mostly the masculine. So I've come from that kind of good little girl background. And I needed to like release all of those latches that kept me in agreement with everyone else's opinion. So I was calling upon Kali. I took myself psychically to the edge and said with every nuance of my being, I am ready to let this great, ferocious goddess into me. But I had a massive fear. And that fear was if I let her in, I could start to be wicked. I could start to be cruel. That dark side won't be clean. It'll come in with a nasty little attacking psychic edge, and I will be batting for the other side. So that was my fear. That comes from being a daughter of a Catholic father. But it was one of those moments where there was no choice but to go forward. So as I was on top of a castle here in southern France, no one around. I was with a couple of friends who were willing to witness this journey. So I was stood on this ridge, huffing and puffing, doing my breath work, getting myself into an altered state. And then I felt her start to come in, and I couldn't stand anymore. I had to go down onto all fours. And the spine was undulating. And so I started to sound as best as I could, but I sounded quite silly, really. I sounded like a human being who was trying to be a dragon. But you got to fake it until it really happens.
Yeah.
And then, Jeanine, all of a sudden, the real thing came through. And it was wild. It was going out into a valley down below. And I'm sure, people within a 50-mile radius would have heard. But this is the important part. I was getting so into what I was doing that I started to prepare a cruel and wicked sentence. I did. That was my shadow self. But the thing is, the words didn't come out. I had a nanosecond to see what I was doing, but my voice hopped over my intention and just carried on being absolutely sacred and clean with my release. Now, I was planning to take all of that energy and send it in a certain direction towards a certain person, and it wasn't enabled. So I can sit here now and say, should you summon the goddess Kali, she will protect you from yourself.
Protection from the self that is anchored in time and space and not evolved, so that the self that is spirit can be
Yes.
free. I got that.
Yes.
I got that.
Yes.
I got
Yes.
that. I got that. This is
any
amazing.
shadow agendas, any vengeance, no, we don't have that when Kali's on board.
That's right. Amen to that.
Yeah.
It's huge, Anaya. And so one of the things that I am learning from you and I'm receiving from you now, as a faceted woman, I want breakthrough in love. I want breakthrough in life. I want breakthrough in relationships. I want breakthrough in business. I want breakthrough in every area of my life. That's why the people who are a part of this interview series are varied in their vocation. One of the things that I'm getting from you, of the multiple concepts that are waking me up and giving me breakthroughs even as I sit here, is this idea of wildness in our femininity, wild energy. We have been tamed, so many of us. We have been restricted, and we have learned to practice resistance and ignorance around our base, the truth of our foundation. And one of the things I want to say to our audience, Anaya, is that here's how you know that is happening in your life. When, as a woman, and I'd like for you to check in with me if there's something that you disagree with or you'd like to expound upon. But when, as a woman, there is busy work filling your days and nights from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to sleep, and there are no moments of stillness, silence, stability, anchoring, there just aren't any. There's just busy doing energy, doing for other people, pouring out, even if your tap is dry, making sure other people's needs are met, making sure the man or the partner that you're with feels sexually satisfied, making sure your clients feel filled up and attended to, making sure your children feel loved and seen and visible, making sure your parents, whom you're caretaking, feel honored and feel respected. And you're just pouring out, running errands, grocery store, cleaning, doing laundry, writing checks, running up contracts. I mean, getting on planes, trains, automobiles, and there's no space for silence and stillness. We cannot come in contact with that wildness. We can't find the primordial voice that you're talking about, and yet we need the primordial voice to say no to the patriarchy, to really come into consciousness around our identity. So my question is, first of all, do you agree? And second, how do we insert moments of silence, stillness, so that we can anchor in to get that authentic voice?
I am so glad you raised this, Jeanine, because this is the big shadow around women at the moment. I believe this is exactly the patriarchal uber distraction. Keep women busy. Do not let them find that wild nature, especially not now. Especially, I am fully believing this is going to sound really radical. I am fully believing that we could authentically and realistically be facing a human extinction. I really, really do. That is not to sow fear, but it's just to widen the conversation to see how essential it is for us to stop being so uber busy and to take that sacred retreat. And if we look at the old traditions, we're meant to be doing it once a month when we're in tune with our menstrual cycles. I don't have those anymore. I shouldn't stop taking my monthly rest period. This is essential. This is where we find our wisdom for ourselves, for our beloved, for our families, for our communities. But if we stay busy, we are not getting into contact with something we promised we would get into contact with in this time. We are the caretakers. Are we really going to just let this planet just be raped before our eyes and just be busy? Is our last breath going to be a busy one? This is how I'm feeling right now, and I can be this passionate and live joyfully.
Oh, please be this passionate. I believe the passion is a pathway to the joy. I believe that. Absolutely. There's a relationship between passion and joy. There's a relationship between passion and peace, because passion is disruptive. Passion actually disrupts a status quo. Passion disrupts sort of the way things are. There are so many of us who want to break out of the old toxic reactionary lover identity, who want a new relationship. I know that you're recently betrothed, and congratulations on your wedded bliss in your marriage. There are those of us who desire sincerely to develop ministry, to develop real work that is meaningful, that is impactful, that is soul-centered. We have these desires, and yet we don't understand the value of stillness and silence, of stability and of just stopping. Yes. And so when you talk about we promised, what it really means, what I'm hearing is that when we were birthed out in our feminine center, that was a part of the deal. Our identity is uniquely connected and tied to our ability to stop. So if you are watching this and you desire your breakthrough and you're feeling like you're scattered, you're running in 100 different directions, wanting to get it right, wanting to please many, many people, wanting to make money, wanting to meet individuals, just in a place of wanting. I believe what you're saying to us, Anaya, is that one of the most promising ways one can set herself up for a breakthrough in any area is to be still, is to promote pause, is to stop being busy. That seems very counterintuitive to a lot of women in the world, as you said, who've been socialized in the West, who are thinking, how is that going to help me? How is that going to enable me in building the life that I want, attracting the love that I want, stopping the love that I don't want, building the business and the ministry, just pausing? So what I'll ask you to do, Anaya, is support us in a little bit more wisdom development, so that we can understand how busyness is actually hurtful, and how stillness is helpful.
For me, busyness is a mind activity. You are on the surface of your being and feeding out into the exterior world. When you are still, you are in the depth of your being and feeding into the interior world. And going back to what you were saying earlier about stopping, I just want to lay that on the table. What would that look like? I would call it a vision quest. So you actually stop on purpose. You have an intention. I would say something like Friday to Monday is enough. So Friday morning, you set off in your camper, or you house sit for the weekend, or you take your tent, or you just go off to a log cabin. Friday, you set off and you don't come back home till Monday, and you have no contact with any other humans. even before you reach your destination. So as you set off from your home, you make a big prayer at your altar, and you lay down these days in honor of your vision quest. You ask for something to either come in or to leave your being. And you promise to pay attention to everything that happens to you during this long weekend, because this is going to be a form of communication from your spirit to your character, to your personality. And you're going to pay attention, and you're going to let yourself go anywhere you need to go in the realm of the interior. So emotions, releasing, laying down, sitting up, walking around. You just allow yourself to be.
Allow yourself to be. These are radical concepts. These are life-changing notions. And I feel so elated that we are bringing them to the conversation. So I want to talk about the power of no. I talked to Amanda Collins in this series, and I've talked to several other people in this series who have talked about the power of no, and I'd like to hear your take on it. When we are positioning ourselves for a breakthrough in life, we know we're on the verge of something. We're on the verge of a new thing, a new experience, a new opportunity, a new relationship, a new sensibility. And there are ways that we need to be open, and that's what stillness affords. It creates gateways, pathways for more. Then we have to, I believe, we get to also practice no, where we can create boundaries that keep us safe and whole and clear about where our limits are and also where we're going. So you talk about saying no to the patriarchy. What does that mean to you, and what do we need to know about that, Anaya?
Well, the first thing I want to say is whenever anyone has a decision to make, if they have a yes, that's a yes. If they have a no, that's a no. But a don't know, in my book, is also a no. So you don't force the don't know. The don't know literally is in brackets, no, okay, I have a no, but I'm saying I don't know because I'm not able to say no yet. And you only wait till you get your yes before it's a forward moving yes. And what I would say to patriarchy with my no, there's a funny situation that happened 2 days ago. At the moment, I'm really in a process. I've seen this new house. And as you know, that the houses we live in are B&Bs. We always welcome people in. And there's a ruined chapel on this house. And I know this is our next house. So we went to the bank manager and asked for an extension on our mortgage. And he said, no. Now, I respect his no, but his no is not my no. Now, a younger version of me would have gone, oh, I'm sorry. I was dreaming way too big. I will now put that dream down and carry on conforming to your no. You've said no to the mortgage. Okay, I'm sorry for dreaming. But the older version just says, okay, change track. I'm going for that house. And his no, I honor his no. I understand why he said no, but it is not my no. I'm going forward. And patriarchy, I believe, tries very hard to control us. And so be mindful, look out for that controlling program. And do your utmost if you don't want to be under its influence. Pay no attention to its attempt to try to control you. See it for what it is. It's a program, an attempt probably to keep us extremely busy or fear-driven.
I respect your no, and yet it is not my no.
Yes.
Ladies, write that down. Brothers, write that down. I respect your no, and yet it is not my no. that is a part of that primordial voice. That's a gifting and an effect of that primordial voice, of that authenticity, of centering oneself, of being able to locate identity in a source that is otherworldly and that is not dependent on any immediately identifiable patriarchal source, something limited in capacity and yet assigned so much value, assigned so much credibility, assigned so much authority. We get to disrupt that when we're supreme lovers. We get to disrupt that when we've taken back our feminine identity from a patriarchal rule. I respect your no, and yet it is not my no. So whatever vision and dream and desire that I've received from heavenly places, I will not relinquish because of the words of men.
Yes.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you also before we need to let you go, about girls. There was something in our notes before this interview that talked about girls being taught how to tap into their intuition and emotions to take up the role as guardians of the natural world and keepers of balance. And so I want to talk about that. What does it mean for girls and women to be guardians of the natural world and keepers of balance? And how can we think about that in terms of the romantic and platonic relationships we have, or the businesses that we want to develop, or the different relationships we want to have with our bodies? How can we think about that concept of guardianship to support us in living bigger lives?
Well, I would say with a girl's body, she will be permitting or not permitting others to enter. I'm talking about sexuality here and boys.
Yeah.
Now, I came from a generation where you have to permit others to enter because it's either dutiful, loving, affectionate, women open to show their love and affection. That was me in the 80s. Girls now have a very different understanding, thank God, that they permit themselves to open when they want to exchange their love with them in their time and rhythm. Yeah. My generation paid no regard to what we were thinking and feeling. Girls today know to pay attention. Am I saying yes to this? Yes. Is it a no? No. Is it a don't know? Yes, it's a don't know. Okay, it's a no. So thank God girls are asking themselves that question. Is this boy in a good and wholesome emotional vibration right now? Is the environment we're about to have sex in or make love in, is this a healing environment? Or is there an edge here? Is there a nervousness here? Girls today are asking themselves this question, or if they're not, it will be very wise for them to do so.
Very wise.
And then also, there are humans and animals on the planet that are strong and forward moving and can take care of themselves. And there are humans and animals on the planet who are quieter, shyer, and not so gregarious. Now, those ones need looking after. Yeah. That's what I mean by the caretaking. Some of us aren't meant to be all singing or dancing and out the front leading the pack. There are quieter ones at the back of the pack. They're the ones to look after. They're the ones to keep your eye on.
Yes.
And that goes for trees and meadows and oceans and seas. What is being mistreated, and then us ladies, we show up on their behalf. Amen. What is unable to defend itself.
Yeah. So I'm remembering when I was a codependent and I was drawing in narcissistic relationships years ago now, thank God. And before I had cleared out my somatic space from the voids and vacuous spaces that left me vulnerable and open to those kinds of attacks, I was so small in my understanding of myself, and so limited in my understanding of my connection to all that is, and so immediate in my limitations, that I made a man God. I made a man a little God because of the voids in my interior life and because of the limitations in my soul. I made a man my God, and that's one of the reasons I was narcissistically abused. And I call him now, or those two men, an angel in disguise. I learned that from Melanie Tonia Evans, who's a coach on my team, who's a part of this series as well. An angel in disguise, because if not for that experience of limited, vacuous, abusive, violating communion, I would not have been able to attend closely to myself as source and understand how I could access power within myself to heal myself. I would not have had the signifiers that I need, the disruptive signifiers that I need to be honest about my pain points. And I would not have had the opportunity to do what you're saying, to be to generate a clarity around how I am actually guardian of the natural world and a keeper of balance. So it was through my understanding of my voids, my violations, my fractured brokenness, that I started to look out and say, where can I find healing and where can I find connection? Is there any? And I started to understand my positioning, my capacity, my power. I started to be able to look at the trees and notice that they don't, hi puppy, and notice that trees, for example, speak to each other and are connected to one another. And the trees don't ask for permission to be beautiful, to change colors, to wave in the wind. I started to be able to see my other sisters as semblances of myself and learn and how to be a student and a teacher. There are all kinds of ways I woke up to my feminine center, my feminine anchoring, that I wouldn't have if I hadn't been attuned to my brokenness, if I hadn't been attuned to the ways that I was violated. And so, and also the way I violated other people. And so what I'm hearing from you, Anaya, and what I'm hoping that the women in our audience are taking away is that when you're positioning yourself for a breakthrough and you're feeling like you don't know where else to go, and you're feeling sort of stunted in your sensibility and in your awareness, it's very, very helpful often to either go inside and figure out where your holes are and your voids are, or do what Anaya is talking about and go outside and look and see how you're connected to everything. How you have a role to play, how we have citizenry in supernatural and natural spaces, so that you can wake up to oneself. We can wake up to ourselves as guardians of the natural world, as keepers of balance, and graduate in our identity. Anaya, when I graduated in my identity, wow. Breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough became not only possible, those breakthroughs became impassable, just one after another. And I felt capable of receiving those breakthroughs because I started to know myself differently. So does that resonate with you, the way that I'm reading your teaching?
Absolutely. I was contemplating yesterday that shadow or intense, intense contracted sensations have within them the agent of authentic prayer. So only in those shadow moments, only in those intense moments, hang on, that's the time when I really go down on bended knee and make that genuine prayer. And that is amazing, because shadow, usually we like to run from shadow. Actually in it is that inspiration, that to actually make that genuine humble prayer. So putting that out to the listeners, that if you're really in a shadow attack and everywhere you turn is contraction and more contraction, maybe it's inspiring you to pray with great intensity.
Amen to that, my sister. So as we close, which is the perfect note to close on, I would ask you, Anaya, to please give us 3 parting gifts. Those are 3 words of wisdom, 3 sort of action steps, 3 concepts to ponder, so that we can move away from this conversation much more clear about breaking down our breakthrough, really, really breaking through to where we want to be in life.
My first word would most definitely be faith. And I mean genuine faith, not the New Age version, but the kind of words like faith, forgiveness, confession, humility, mercy, the old-fashioned words. Faith in the old-fashioned way. The next word I would use is sacred shadow. And remembering that when it's really intense, when it really looks like you're having one wave of bad luck after the other, what is the sacred gift in that?
Yes.
And then I'm going to end on your last words, which was what I said. I respect your no, but your no is not my no.
Anaya, Sophia, you are a gift to us. You are grace in the world. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. You're wonderful.
Oh, Jeanine, likewise. Likewise. I look forward to the day when we can actually embrace. And I think that's going to be in France.
I believe it will. I'll see you in Paris for sure.
Yes.
So, yeah. So everybody,
Yes.
you know what to do. Go over to Facebook, join the Supreme Love Project closed Facebook group. Make sure that you tag me, tag Anaya, Sophia, tag the other guest experts in this series so that you can get questions out there in the world and get answers that you need to move forward in your breakthrough experience so that you can actually graduate to a new sensibility of self, a new relationship, a new business, a new health trajectory, so that you can win and bless and build in life and love for real. I'm Jeanine Staples. I'm founder of the Supreme Love Project. You are tuned into another Supreme Love Project. This is the Breakthrough Your Barriers Summit, and I will see you on the next episode. Goodbye, everybody.